Before we start, I need you to listen very carefully, because if even one of these red flags is happening in your life right now, then you're standing closer to danger than you realize. And I'm not talking about physical danger, I'm talking about psychological danger, the kind that doesn't break you overnight, but piece by piece, the kind of destruction you don't notice until you look in the mirror one day and realize you don't even recognize the man staring back. So stick with me to the end, because there's something important you need to hear, something men almost never get told, but absolutely must know. And before we go deeper, take 1 second to subscribe and like the video so you don't miss the future lessons that can literally save your emotional life. Now let's talk about the first red flag. Not the loud one, not the obvious one, the quiet one. The one that sneaks up on you disguised as care or connection. It's when a woman begins testing how much of yourself you'll give up just to keep her calm, happy, or close. She doesn't ask directly. That would be too visible. Instead, she watches. She pays attention to how quickly you bend, how easily you abandon your boundaries, how much of your sleep, your time, your energy she can consume without you resisting. It's subtle at first. Maybe she criticizes something you like. Maybe she becomes cold when you're focused on your goals. Maybe she suddenly acts irritated when you're talking about something that matters to you, and you start shrinking yourself without realizing you're shrinking. Here's the psychological truth most men never learn. A woman who respects you will never require you to abandon your identity to make the relationship work. But a woman who wants control rather than connection will slowly train you to disconnect from yourself. She doesn't need to yell, threaten, or even argue. All she needs is your desire to not upset her, because the moment she senses that, she knows exactly how to shape you. And here's the heartbreaking part. Most men confuse this for love. They say, "She's just emotional," or "She's just sensitive," or "I don't want to lose her." So they compromise more, they apologize more, they give more. But the problem is, you can't negotiate with a pattern that isn't accidental. If she gets calmer every time you sacrifice a piece of yourself, her mind learns that your pain equals her control. And once that dynamic forms, it rarely reverses. You need to pay attention to the early signs, the discomfort in your gut, the confusion you feel after conversations that should have been simple, the exhaustion that kicks in after trying to keep peace with someone who always seems to want more from you than you can give. A healthy woman brings clarity. A manipulative woman brings chaos that she blames you for. And if you're feeling that already, then you're not imagining it. You're seeing the first red flag, the one that reveals the rest. There's a moment in every man's life when he realizes something is wrong, but he can't explain it. He feels it before he understands it. And that's why the second red flag is so dangerous, because it works far beneath the surface. It's when she subtly rewrites reality, not with force, but with confusion. You walk away from conversations questioning your memory, your intentions, even your sanity. And what you don't realize is that this isn't random. It's psychological conditioning. She'll say things like, "I never said that," even though you remember it clearly, or "You're overreacting," when you're simply expressing normal emotions, or "Why are you making this a big deal?" when she knows exactly why it matters to you. The strategy isn't to dominate you quickly, it's to destabilize you slowly, because a man who doubts himself becomes easier to guide, easier to mold, easier to control. You start apologizing for things you didn't do. You start defending yourself for things that never happened. You start explaining yourself to someone who never plans to understand you. And every time she watches you stumble over your own certainty, she becomes more certain of her power. Not because she hates you, but because this dynamic benefits her. And the human mind gravitates toward patterns that benefit it, even if those patterns hurt someone else. The tragic part? Men rarely recognize this red flag until too late, because from the outside it looks like miscommunication. It looks like emotional difference. It looks like two people talking past each other. But inside the relationship, it feels like walking through fog. You can't see the edges. You can't find solid ground. You don't know where the truth ends and her version of it begins. And here's where the danger deepens. Once she notices how much self-doubt you're carrying, she'll begin using it as a shield. If you call out her behavior, she'll flip it on you. If you express a boundary, she'll make you feel guilty. If you finally speak your truth, she'll twist it into an attack. And you, being the man who's trying to keep the peace, trying to be reasonable, trying to be fair, begin questioning whether you're the problem. But listen to me, Confusion is not love. Emotional clarity is a basic element of a healthy connection. When a woman creates more chaos than comfort, it's not because you're broken, it's because the relationship is unbalanced in a way that benefits her and drains you. And deep down, you know it's true. You know the conversations that leave you mentally exhausted. You know the patterns that repeat even after promises to change. You know the feeling of being unheard, unseen, and yet somehow responsible for everything that goes wrong. That feeling is not accidental. It's the second red flag. And once it's there, the others rarely stay hidden. There's a specific moment when a man realizes he's no longer in a relationship. He's in a competition he never agreed to play. And that moment usually appears when the third red flag shows itself, when she starts weaponizing attention. Not openly, not dramatically, but through quiet shifts in her warmth, her response time, her availability, and her interest. She doesn't say what's wrong. She doesn't tell you what changed. She simply pulls back and waits to see how quickly you'll chase. You'll notice it first in small ways. Messages that used to be answered within minutes now take hours. Conversations that used to be full of energy now feel like they're draining life out of you. She becomes colder when you're enthusiastic and warmer when you're uncertain, and you begin adjusting your behavior without even realizing you're doing it. You text faster, you try harder, you over-explain, you try to fix something she refuses to define. This isn't about communication, it's about control through uncertainty. And let me be clear, healthy women don't play these games. They communicate, they express needs, they seek solutions. But a woman using attention as leverage, she's running a psychological experiment, and you're the subject. She wants to know how hooked you are. She wants to see how far you'll stretch to pull her back in. She wants to measure your emotional dependency, so she creates distance. Not because she needs space, but because she wants a reaction. You'll find yourself thinking about her more than usual. You'll worry that you did something wrong. You'll replay conversations in your head, searching for the moment things shifted. And that's exactly the mental loop this red flag is designed to create. When your mind is consumed by trying to get her back, she becomes the emotional center of your world, while you slowly fade from your own. But here's the part men rarely understand. Attention manipulation isn't about affection. It's about hierarchy. The person who is emotionally predictable becomes the person who is emotionally replaceable. And the person who controls the rhythm of connection holds the emotional advantage. If she can make you chase her simply by becoming distant, she learns she doesn't need effort to keep you. She only needs inconsistency. And once that pattern sets in, the dynamic becomes addictive. You get rewarded just enough to stay, but not enough to feel secure. Your brain starts associating relief with her approval and anxiety with her silence. That's how emotional dependency is formed, not through love, but through psychological imbalance. But here's what too many men forget. You deserve consistency. You deserve communication. You deserve someone who doesn't punish you with silence, distance, or withdrawal just to see if you'll run after them. When attention becomes a tool instead of a gift, the relationship stops being partnership and starts becoming a game you cannot win. There's a point in a man's relationship where he feels something he can't quite explain, a heavy pressure, a sense of being judged, evaluated, measured, and that pressure is almost always linked to the fourth red flag, when she starts comparing you. Not just to other men, but to her past, her fantasies, her expectations, her ideal version of you. And the moment a woman begins comparing you instead of connecting with you, the relationship is already shifting into a dangerous psychological territory. It often starts subtly. She'll mention how another man is so focused, so ambitious, so attentive, so romantic, or so confident. She'll talk about how her ex used to do this, or how her friend's boyfriend never forgets that. She won't say it to insult you. She'll say it as if she's offering guidance, as if she's motivating you, as if she's helping you become better. But if you listen closely, something deeper is happening. She's training you to feel inadequate. Because comparison is rarely about improvement. It's about leverage. It's about planting a quiet insecurity in your mind so she can guide your behavior without ever raising her voice. Before long, you start doubting your strengths. You start feeling like you're always one step behind. You begin taking her comments personally, even when she says she's just being honest. You start believing the unspoken message that you're never enough. And the dangerous part is, once a man accepts that belief, he becomes easy to manipulate. He becomes driven by fear rather than confidence. He moves from authenticity to performance. He starts operating as a man trying to avoid losing her instead of a man choosing to build something healthy with her. A woman using comparison as a psychological tool knows exactly what she's doing. She knows you'll try to prove yourself. She knows you'll compete with ghosts, the imaginary men she holds up as examples, the fictional standards nobody could ever live up to. And the more you try to meet those standards, the more she can raise them. Because the goal isn't your growth, the goal is her control. But here's the truth you need to hear. A woman who genuinely respects you will never make you feel like a runner-up in your own relationship. She won't compare you to other men because she chose you. She won't punish you with impossible expectations because she knows partnership is built, not demanded. She won't trigger your insecurities to get compliance. She'll support your strengths to build connection. Comparison is a slow poison. It drains your confidence, weakens your identity, and shifts the power dynamic in ways that are hard to reverse. And the saddest part? Many men blame themselves instead of recognizing the pattern for what it is, a clear sign that the relationship is no longer a partnership. It's a performance she directs. There's a moment where a man stops feeling like a partner and starts feeling like an option, and that moment almost always arrives with the fifth red flag, when she becomes unpredictable by choice. Not emotionally expressive, that's normal. Not overwhelmed, that's human. I'm talking about deliberate unpredictability, the kind she uses to keep you guessing, keep you off balance, keep you trying harder to get things right, even when there's nothing wrong with you at all. This red flag shows up when her moods shift in ways that have nothing to do with life, stress, or circumstance. One day she's affectionate, warm, and supportive. The next day she's cold, distant, irritated, or dismissive. And when you ask what's wrong, she becomes vague, evasive, or even annoyed. She doesn't want resolution. Resolution would mean clarity, and clarity removes power. So she gives you just enough warmth to keep you attached, and just enough coldness to keep you trying. What men fail to realize is that inconsistency is one of the most powerful psychological tools in human relationships. The brain becomes addicted to patterns that are unpredictable because every moment of affection feels like a reward you can't reliably earn. And that's when you stop focusing on whether the relationship is healthy and start focusing on how to avoid losing the little moments of connection she randomly gives you. You begin adjusting your tone, your behavior, your decisions. You start monitoring everything you say to avoid accidentally triggering her withdrawal. You feel like you're walking on invisible eggshells, ones she never acknowledges but clearly expects you to tiptoe around. And every time she switches from warm to cold without explanation, you blame yourself. You wonder what you did, what you missed, what you overlooked. But the truth is, there is no answer, because unpredictability isn't a reaction to your behavior, it's a strategy. A woman who respects you won't manipulate you with inconsistency. She won't use her emotional states as a leash. She won't build intimacy one day and sabotage it the next. She won't keep you in a cycle of confusion just to feel more secure in the relationship. When a woman is stable, she offers stability. When a woman is genuine, she offers clarity. When a woman cares, she communicates. But when she wants dominance, she offers unpredictability. And the danger of this red flag goes deeper than frustration. It rewires your emotional baseline. You start losing your confidence. You stop expressing your needs. You swallow your concerns. You convince yourself that if you just stay patient, if you just stay calm, if you just avoid conflict long enough, things will go back to how they were in the beginning. But inconsistency isn't a phase, it's a pattern. And patterns don't disappear just because you tolerate them. If a woman uses unpredictability to control connection, she's telling you something crucial. Your emotional stability is not a priority, but her power is. There comes a point, and every man feels it, when the relationship no longer feels like a place of peace. It feels like a place of pressure, a place where you're constantly tested, constantly measured, constantly questioned without anyone saying the questions out loud. And that's where the sixth red flag emerges. the one most men recognize last, when she slowly begins shaping you into someone who serves her needs but starves your identity, not through force, not through threats, but through emotional conditioning so subtle you barely notice it happening. You'll see it in the way she reacts when you talk about your goals. Maybe she downplays them, or distracts you, or brings conflict into moments when you're supposed to be focused. You'll see it when you try to take space for yourself. Suddenly she becomes more dramatic, more irritated, more demanding. You'll see it when you start getting healthier, more confident, more stable. Her attitude shifts, not because she doesn't want you to grow, but because your growth makes you harder to control. You'll notice that she loves the version of you that is tired, busy, confused, or emotionally drained, because that version of you asks fewer questions and makes fewer boundaries. That version is easier to influence, easier to redirect, easier to pull away from his purpose. A partner builds with you. A manipulator builds you into something convenient for them. And here's the truth you've likely felt, but never said out loud. When a woman wants power over you, she will subtly pull you away from anything that empowers you. Your passions, your discipline, your confidence, your support system, your sense of direction. She won't say, don't grow. She'll simply create tension every time you try. She won't say, don't be ambitious. She'll just emotionally reward you when you're stagnant and punish you when you rise. And if you've been living in this pattern long enough, you may have started believing the most damaging lie of all, that this is normal, that relationships are supposed to feel heavy, that love is supposed to be exhausting, that a man is supposed to sacrifice everything for peace. But listen carefully. A healthy woman does not require the destruction of your identity to stay connected to you. She doesn't fear your strength. She isn't threatened by your confidence. She doesn't shrink from your growth. She supports it, encourages it, protects it, and benefits from it because she knows your strength is not a threat. It's a foundation. So here's the important truth I promised you at the beginning, the one most men never hear until it's too late. The moment you have to abandon yourself to keep a woman, you've already lost her, and you're on the edge of losing yourself. You were never meant to earn love by shrinking. You were never meant to keep connection by sacrificing your purpose. And you were never meant to carry the emotional weight of two people while pretending everything is fine. If these red flags are showing up in your life, you don't need to panic. You need awareness. Awareness is how you reclaim your ground. Awareness is how you take your power back. Awareness is how you walk away from manipulation without losing your heart or your humanity. And if you want more videos that protect you, strengthen you, and reveal the psychology nobody ever explained to you, make sure you subscribe and like this video, because trust me, this journey is only just beginning.